But say maybe, for example, somebody is sitting now. I don't want to say White House or maybe some part in Washington D.C. Somebody see a car running over a crowd, for example. This person saw, that he was told. Is the person say maybe this person is not even a journalist, or maybe it's a practicing journalist, not an official journalist? Can the person report that a car ran over a people?
Yes,
Or
I think that
yeah.
actually happened. If you, from what I remember, and that now this is based on memory as opposed to having the facts in front of me. That's essentially what happened in Charlottesville when the guy who ran into the crowd who were marching there, and then hit and killed the woman there in Charlottesville. So that there was reports. Hey, we just saw a car, SUV, or whatever it was, mow down people who were peacefully marching through the streets, and it looks like one woman. I don't know if they knew she was dead at the time, but clearly she was severely injured. And so, yes, you don't have to be a journalist to say, "Here's what I saw." This is eyewitness, and I may even have either a video of it or a snapshot of the, you know, the event. So that's perfectly fine.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That is clear. Now, you have written a book. You have your presence online. I know you're not looking for a job because, okay, you're a freelancer, you are a teacher, you are teaching communication and journalism. Anyway, you decide this. So, how can people connect with you? Maybe those who want to do business with you, those who want to collaborate with you. So, tell them how to reach you, how to connect with you. Let's go.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes, my website is my name, SonjaDWilliams.com. And on that website, I also have information about how to reach me, but also my email address at Howard is just swilliams at howard.edu. The website contains information about not just my book, Word Warrior, Richard Durham, Radio and Freedom, but also links to my work in radio and in print so that you can read and listen to my past work and current work, because I also do a podcast or serve as a producer for a podcast series for an organization that deals with biographies, people who write and research biographical work.
Do you want to spend a few seconds talking about your book? Give some people some spoiler why they should buy this book.
They should buy it because it's I hope that it's a easy and interesting read. Um, Richard Durham was he should be better known. He was a fantastic writer. I mean, just his writing is lyrical and engaging. And he was both a dramatist. He wrote dramas for radio. So we're talking about during a time when radio dramas was a big thing back in the 30s and 40s. So he was a radio dramatist. He was a journalist. He wrote for the Chicago Defender. He was an editor there as well as a writer. He he also was the editor of Muhammad Speaks, the newspaper of the Nation of Islam, and really helped to deal with expanding the nation's coverage of international affairs and how internationally, not just the nation, because it wasn't the paper was not just about the Nation of Islam. It was about what was happening with freedom struggles around the world, in the United States, in Africa, in the Caribbean, elsewhere, in Europe, and all. So he was the editor in chief of that paper, and he wrote Muhammad Ali's autobiography back in the 70s. So he had a varied career. He was a labor organizer. He wrote for television and actually wrote one of the first soap operas with a black theme. It looked at a black family in Chicago and what it meant to be in Chicago in the 70s. Um, and dealing with the issues around that, Black Chicago. Um, he also was a speechwriter, and he ended up writing speeches and working with Harold Washington, who became the first Black mayor of the city of Chicago. So he had a varied career. He was a dynamic freedom fighter, and he used his words as his weapon in the cause of freedom and justice, not just for Black people, but for all oppressed people. And I think his story is a fascinating one because it shows what dedication to a cause can mean if you're using both journalism or drama or speech writing, and even biographical writing. You know, his work with Muhammad Ali was really fascinating because he followed Ali around the world as he was working on his autobiography. And so bringing Ali's story to life was also an interesting means of storytelling that he did really pretty well. So I think that if you have any interest in seeing what writing and excellent writing can do, you should read this book.
All right. Thank you so much. And you said that it's available on where? Where can people
It's
get it?
available at your online store anywhere. So Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, your favorite online um, portal.
All right. People, hey, make sure you check that book out. Read, because it is important to read. Reading is very, very good, very interesting.
Reading is fundamental.
Yeah, yeah, reading is fundamental. That is very fundamental.
And oh, the other thing I want to say,
Yes,
Word
please.
Warrior is also available as an audiobook. So if you love listening to books rather than sitting and physically reading, it is available as an audiobook, and that is also, you can get the link to that on my website.
All right, great. Now, for media creation and journalism, what would you recommend to people that are listening to us now, or maybe young journalists, as a kind of winning strategy in their work? What kind of strategy should they adopt to become better journalists?
Oh, just massage and embrace curiosity. Be curious and allow that curiosity to push you to find as much information as possible. I think is really it, and to be as balanced and as comprehensive as possible, not stopping at one space just because it might be the easiest information to gather, but really finding a way to dig deeper and to get as much information as possible so that when you sit down to write and develop your piece, whatever form it may take, it is as strong as it can possibly be.
Super. Do you want to add any other thing to the conversation? I've asked you everything I wanted to ask you.
No, I think you covered everything. And thank you for asking about my book. It was a labor of love that took many, many years, but it also took a long time because I was, still working full time as a professor and, head of my department. So,
That's great. People must get that book and read.
yes,
Thank
definitely.
you so much. It has been a
Thank
pleasure on my
you.
part.
It's been wonderful.